Good morning, and welcome back to the Essay Desk Masterclass, episode 36. Today, we open a telescope from 1610 and ask why the sharpest instrument of reason is only as trustworthy as the doubt kept beside it. This sits inside one of the hottest families in the essay paper right now: reason against intuition, science against romance. And by the end of this masterclass, you will know exactly how to turn that tension into a top rank answer. Here is today's topic, exactly as it could appear on results day. The telescope counts the stars it can see and doubts the ones it cannot. This belongs to the reason versus intuition family, a theme that has surfaced in 2022, 2023, and 2024, and its heat going into 2026 is high, sharpened further by every candidate now having to think about what artificial intelligence can and cannot measure. Start by decoding, never by writing. The telescope stands for reason, every instrument that lets us measure the world, and the stars it cannot see stand for the unknown, the unmeasured, the intuitive. The tension inside this line sits between the confidence reason gives you and the humility it must keep about its own edges. Read literally, it sounds like a limitation. Read as an instruction, it is asking you to argue that reason is strongest exactly when it doubts itself. Now fix your thesis in a single sentence, because an essay arguing 5 different things ends up arguing nothing. Try something like this: reason earns its authority only when it doubts its own instruments, and the future belongs to those who let doubt discipline data rather than trusting it blindly or dismissing it romantically. Write that sentence at the top of your rough sheet before you touch the introduction, and test every paragraph against it as you go. For a topic like this, 6 to 8 dimensions give you real range without turning the essay into a list. Move from the philosophical route of doubt through the scientific method into today's most vivid battleground, artificial intelligence. Then to the economics of who actually funds verification, and finally to the psychology of intuition itself. Each dimension should answer a question the previous one raised, so the essay reads as one continuous argument, never as separate mini essays stapled together. Sequence matters as much as selection. Open with a historical or scene anchor to earn attention. Move into the dimensions where your sourced data lives, and place your strongest counter view just before the conclusion, never buried in the middle where it gets lost. Save one image from your opening for the final line, so the essay closes like a circle instead of simply stopping. Every dimension needs an anchor, never a name drop. Galileo, pointing a hand-ground telescope at Jupiter in 1610 and doubting his own instrument until other eyes had checked it, is a scene, not a citation. And scenes stay with an examiner far longer than a fact ever will. On the data side, a 2025 meta-analysis in NPJ Digital Medicine found generative AI models trailing expert physicians in diagnostic accuracy by close to 16 percentage points. And India's own Supreme Court this year set aside tribunal orders that had relied on artificial intelligence, inventing case law that never existed. Notice what each anchor does. It is never left to sit alone. It is read and interpreted in the very next sentence. This is the single highest value move in the whole essay. Never open with "since time immemorial," and never open by simply restating the topic. Open instead on Galileo's telescope, or on the AI accuracy gap, or on the paradox that the finer an instrument becomes, the more precisely it must confess what it still cannot measure. Then, in your conclusion, do not summarize what you have already said. Resolve the tension. Return to the telescope one final time, and leave the reader with a forward-looking claim about the kind of reasoning India will need as it builds toward an artificial intelligence future. Here is a line you can adapt, never copy word for word, because your own voice is what an examiner is actually grading. A civilization that builds humility into its instruments, human and artificial alike, does not become less rational for admitting its blind spots. It becomes the only kind of rational that endures. Notice the shape: a claim, a concession, and a resolution, all in one breath. That shape is learnable, and it is exactly what you should be practicing this week. Let's recap quickly. Decode the topic before you write a single line of the introduction, and fix one thesis that you hold to the very end. Build 6 to 8 dimensions that are woven together, not listed side by side, and anchor every claim in evidence you can actually source, never inventing a number. And close on a vision, not a summary, ideally circling back to the very image you opened with. That is today's masterclass. The 3 hours of this paper can feel like the loneliest 3 hours of the entire examination. And I know how heavy the practice feels on the days when the words simply will not come. So be patient with yourself. The discipline is quietly compounding, even when it does not feel that way. If you would like the complete written model on today's topic, along with a second full essay and the examiner's own margin notes, drop your email in the comments or write to team@upscdesk.com.